We have a number of elected officials who have joined us today for the Chamber's Headliners Lunch, so if they could stand or give a wave, we'll hold our applause until the end. Our Clerk of the Court, Angel Colanesso, Mayor Gene Brown, City of Bradenton, Manatee County Commissioners Reggie Bellamy, George Cruz, James Satcher, Misty Servia, Kevin Van Ostenbridge, and Carol Whitmore. If you could please show your appreciation for these elected officials. We are grateful for your participation and engagement with the business community through the Chamber, and thank you for your service to our community, ensuring that it's the best place to live, work, play, and own a business. We also have a number of sponsors who make our Headliners events possible, as well as investors who give well above and beyond their dues to invest in the Chamber's mission. And you'll see up on the screen, for those of you who can see the screen, and we realize that the logistics aren't perfect, please know that the slides will be available and sent out to all the attendees after today's event as well. But two organizations are annual sponsors of our Headliners events. They have representatives here with us today. If they too could give a wave. But thank you so much to the Mosaic Company, as well as the Realtors Association of Sarasota and Manatee for your sponsorship of the Headliner Series. We also are reconfirming sponsors for the coming year. So if one of the opportunities your business would like to take advantage of would be investing as an annual sponsor, great exposure to associate yourself with our Headliners events, and we would love to talk to you about getting you on board for our next series that starts second Wednesday in January. We've got a full lineup already scheduled of great speakers and topics for next year. Also want to take a moment to recognize our platinum level investors, also represented most of these organizations here today engaging on these issues. Brown & Sons Funeral Home and Crematory, Carr, Riggs & Ingram CPAs, Manatee County Government, Manatee Memorial Hospital, MCR Health Services, All Care Options, NDC Construction Company, the Pittsburgh Pirates and Bradenton Marauders, Raymond James Wealth Management, Bruce Body, Sarasota Bradenton International Airport, and South State Bank. Please show your appreciation for the investors within our chairman's circle. We're going to now break for a few minutes to let the great staff here at the Bradenton Country Club serve lunch. Anybody who's taking their lunch by the pool, you can look to my left here and head on out there. Just be back here in about 10 or 15 minutes. That's where I'm like, well, how did we not close the blinds on that side of the room? I think that was somewhat cruel today to do that. So we're going to let the Bradenton Country Club get us started with lunch, and we will be back up here to welcome our county administrator in just a few moments. We will now get started again. I know that you are enjoying your lunch, expertly prepared and served by the staff here at the Country Club. So please allow me to share a short introduction of our county administrator. As Manatee County continues to move forward on critical projects to service a county in which we have more than 400,000 residents and growing at an extraordinary clip, the partnership between local government and the business community in the Chamber has never been more important. And I think we all witnessed how important those relationships and those partnerships have been during the past almost 2-year challenge of COVID. I cannot tell you how many phone calls, emails have gone back and forth between the Chamber, the Economic Development Council, and our county and city government in helping ensure that we're drawing down as many resources as possible for businesses, employers, and their employees, as well as residents here in Manatee County. And the county and its team has been an integral part of that. Many of you know, whether it's CARES Act or other major programs that came into town, the expertise and effort required by the county team to really build the airplane while they were flying it in order to get those resources drawn down from DC and the state into our community was nothing short of miraculous. Joining us today, as you know, is Dr. Scott Hopes, County Administrator, to address a state of the county with our membership. Dr. Hopes officially became the County Administrator in May of this year after serving as Acting County Administrator. He's responsible for carrying out the policies and directives of the Board of County Commissioners. Dr. Hopes has a doctorate in business administration from the University of South Florida, Muma College of Business, as well as a BA and Master's of Public Health, all from USF. He has extensive experience in both public and private sectors, including as chief executive, an elected official, board of directors members in many situations, and other leadership roles. His opportunity to carry out the vision and policies of the Board of County Commissioners comes at a time, as I mentioned, of tremendous growth and opportunity, as well as a time of challenge, much of which comes because of opportunity. He leads a diverse county staff team who touch on more aspects of our lives, both personal and business, than many of us stop to consider on any given day. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Scott Hopes.
Thank you, Jackie, and thank all of you. But kind of the first order of business, and I don't know if it's the mayor or someone else, please tell me there's not a red light camera at 43rd and Manatee Avenue. All right, I'm saved. I would hate to have to discipline myself for like running a red light in a county vehicle, but so at any rate, first, I really want to thank the county commissioners that are here, because without them having enough confidence in me to roll into a very different job for me says a lot about the confidence that they had, not just in me, but their confidence in actually succeeding with meeting the challenges that we have in Manatee County, and as Jackie said, the opportunities, and they are many. For a show of hands, how many of you were at the chamber retreat? Okay, good. So not all of you. So what I would like to do is, because I think it sets the stage for what we want to talk about with the state of the county, is go ahead and play. Good morning. On behalf of the Board of Commissioners and Manatee County Government, welcome to the Chamber's annual retreat. For many years, I've been attending the retreat, but this year I'm unable to join you because of prior travel plans. I especially regret missing out on this year's retreat, as it is my first as the Manatee County Administrator. This year, we have so much new information to share with you about the immediate future of our great community. In my place, I'm sending several of our county department directors and deputy county administrators who will relay much of the exciting progress we'll be making in the coming years. Much of the information you hear today centers on the county's annual spending plan, which goes into effect on October 1st. As you may already know, county commissioners have approved a total annual budget of nearly $2.2 billion, with net spending of more than $923 million, which includes the county's first property tax cut since 2008. Commissioners were able to strategically reduce the property tax rate by 0.2 mils from the July 2021 budget proposal, while increasing county projects, programs, and services. Deputy Administrator and CFO Jan Brewer will deliver details on how we are reducing tax levies while leveraging our savings to maximize public investments. The Board of County Commissioners also approved the largest 5-year capital improvement plan in Manatee County's history, totaling more than $1.1 billion of investments in infrastructure, public safety, parks, and our environment. The County Commission is investing $350 million in transportation projects, $80 million in parks, and $39 million in public safety projects. Public Works Director Chad Butzow is going to give you a preview of substantial improvements coming in our roadway infrastructure. We will widen Lorraine Road and Upper Manatee River Road in East Manatee County, expand Erie Road and Moccasin Wallow in North County, And there are significant improvements coming to 59th and 75th Streets in West Bradenton. South County will also notice huge upgrades along 63rd Avenue East. We will be constructing sidewalks and bike lanes along many of those projects as a way to expand transportation opportunities for local travelers. But road and transportation improvements are only some of the quality of life enhancements now in the works by our government. Soon, we will open a new community pool at Lincoln Park for the children and residents of Palmetto. We'll also be opening the county's newest public library branch when the East County Library is complete. Parks and Natural Resources Director Charlie Hunziker is going to tell you how we are improving and expanding upon many existing parks by adding pickleball courts at GT Bray Park, soccer fields at Buffalo Creek, and a host of improvements at Premier Sports Complex, including a new aquatic center. Finally, Jerry Lopez, our Redevelopment and Economic Opportunity Director, will give an overview of the local economic development and jobs creation behind the scenes of our local economy. So what do these presentations by our county team mean to you, the residents, leaders, business owners, and entrepreneurs of Manatee County? For starters, the tax cut will mean a modest reduction on your homestead properties. But more importantly, we are investing in our community through a multitude of projects that will improve transportation, enhance public safety, and further meet the needs of our rapidly growing population, all culminating in an enhanced quality of life for our residents and visitors. I encourage you to listen carefully to each presenter and consider how these exciting projects will benefit you and your family and your businesses large and small. Give us your feedback in the breakout sessions to follow, or relay your thoughts and ideas individually to our commissioners, directors, and deputy administrators during the weekend. We take your insights seriously, and we look forward to working with you, the business leaders of Manatee County, as we make these substantial investments in our community. Have an exceptional, enjoyable retreat. All right, thank you. So how do we, as your Manatee County government, pull all this off? And where are we going? If you look at this investment, and this investment is important, I've taken the approach that I believe that Manatee County and the County Commission, we as a group believe that Manatee County should be the #1 place in the Southeast United States to move to grow a business, to start a business, to raise your children, educate your children, and enjoy life, and to play and capitalize on everything that we have. It is no secret to anybody how fast we're growing. COVID presented to us a very different dynamic of young families moving to our community for all we have to offer. I believe, I don't know if the superintendent's here, but I believe they had like 1,200 new students start at the beginning of this school year. We were one of the first large school districts in the country and the state to reopen 5 days a week and kept all the schools open. Our economy was open. And with that brings these opportunities, but it brings the challenges. So if we look at the breakdown of what we are in the process of spending in the categories, you're looking at $457 million that's in the existing appropriation. And then when we look at the CIP moving forward, look at the amount of money that we are putting into infrastructure. At the end of this 5-year marathon, we're looking at nearly $650 million going into transportation projects. And that is not an insignificant amount of investment. But we're also putting money into parks, a total of $186 million. $79 million into public safety, general government and libraries, $50 million. I think on the 15th, we're having the groundbreaking for the East County Library. That may not be the name of it, but it's the name that we have labeled on the CIP. Next slide, please. So the highlights for parks, if you look at it, now all of you know G.T. Bray, and I love to pick on Charlie Hunziker about the clay tennis courts, but we have fantastic clay tennis courts, and they're getting new ones, right? And later you're going to see a picture when we talk about pickleball courts. They're coming up out of the ground. Those of you that frequent G.T. Bray, you're seeing things coming out of the ground. It's not just a CIP that this county commission adopted in the fall of this year. You are seeing it being implemented at really a rapid pace. The Parish Central Park, Parish Community Park, we've got a deal with DOT for a land swap that's going to take place that will enlarge that. The Lincoln Pool, if you haven't gone by, it is like the most incredible water slide I've seen in a public park. And we're working hard for Commissioner Bellamy to get that open by spring break. In addition, we've got a host of projects out at Premier. The library's breaking ground, the aquatic center, and the sports center is on the street now, I believe, for design and engineering. In addition to this, how we've accelerated all of this is the county commission supported getting money, lines of credit, for 2 years. There were two $40 million lines of credit that help with the capital, and then in utilities, where, keep in mind, all these new people that are moving here, we have to provide utilities. I mean, the coolest thing about this gig is I was telling my dad, look, I made that water that's coming out of the faucet. And he was like, what are you talking about? No, we made that water. I'm the head of the company that made that water. And he was like, oh, really? But when you think about it, we have a lot of catching up to do with infrastructure. The businesses that are coming here, because of the work that the chamber does and the EDC does, I cannot tell you, because I'm under this cone of silence, how many companies want to be in Manatee County, not Hillsborough County, not Sarasota County, not Pinellas County. They want to be here really bad. And you are going to see some exciting projects that get unveiled under the stealth. Like, how many of you knew about the last mile Amazon facility before their I don't know if it's trademark, but their color scheme went up at the top of the building? I will tell you, I got yelled at by some of my bosses because they didn't know anything about it. And I said, hey, wait a second, that was started before I got here. And the only reason why I knew what it was is because every day or every week I go to my post office box across the street, and I was like, what the hell are they doing? It just like came up overnight. But that's a testament to the work that the EDC, our Rio department, and the Chamber of Commerce do to really bring jobs to this community. Next slide. Looking at transportation, it is too numerous to count, but all we can ask of you is bear with us, all right? There are going to be detours. There are going to be road closures. But in the end, and I'll show you one of the slides of where we've gone on some of it, it is going to make this great place even better. So if you, Moccasin Wallow, the commission approved, I think it was at the last meeting, the final significant piece of property to move the widening of Moccasin Wallow forward, and that is at the corner of Moccasin Wallow and 301. And I will tell you, it took a meeting with the landowner, his wife, and his sister numerous times to get the deal done, but we got it done. Now, those of you who may be fortunate or unfortunate enough to have property that we need for roads, we changed the way we did things when I got here. And so now, when they are designing the roads and identifying the property that we need, we are approaching it from the perspective, from the beginning, that we may go into eminent domain and litigate. So There is not, at least currently, an approach of, well, let's give it a couple of years, let's negotiate here and negotiate there, and then the roads don't get done. But what it has done is it's moved a lot of these deals forward because, unfortunately, I don't believe this county commission's willing to put off necessary infrastructure and transportation projects because a few people just are not willing to negotiate in good faith. So that's just a heads up. And that's why you see things moving. Sidewalks, intersections, it's all over the county. If you've been up in the air, I don't care whether you look east, west, north or south, southwest, you see construction everywhere. There's not a part or a sector of the county that we as Manatee County government are not touching to make things better for everyone that visits and lives in Manatee County. All right, highlights. I will tell you going on right now, the Sheriff's Fleet facility, which was originally slated to be out at Lena Road, it's on the street for design and engineering. It's going out in Lakewood Ranch at Premier, which is a pretty good central location. In addition to that, there will probably be, in the first meeting of next year, a proposal to replace a substation proximate to that. I believe next week, hitting the streets will be for a design build for a jail medical wing up at the jail, which is really needed, which was highlighted in COVID. Premier Sports Complex, as I mentioned, the pool complex and the racket center are out on the streets now for design and engineering. And what is the change in the CIP? Now, this is important because this county commission came in and immediately began focusing on the need, after the election, on the need to invest in infrastructure. The coolest thing about coming into this team with the county commission at this time is money was less of a concern because prior boards and administrations had built up strong reserves, and when the reserves exceeded the maximum statutory cap, they created something called a stabilization fund. And so what this commission did, with the help of Jan Brewer, the CFO, and with our team, is we put forward taking that money and putting it to work for us in these projects. So what did that end up doing? In fiscal year 22, it was a 101% increase in the CIP. Moving into 23, 67%, and the big one, based on the prior CIP for fiscal year 25, it is a 711% increase in investment in capital projects in Manatee County. So what does that look like? Are you getting in stages with the graph? Okay. So if you look at the blue bar, and I have to thank Jan and her team because I'm real big on trying to give you a picture to kind of like see what all this means, and they do a great job. So look at the orange or burnt orange. What do we call our logo color? It's like burnt orange. So look at the that is additional investment, folks. So as you're looking at your own businesses and how you're growing and things like that, look at what this county commission is doing to ensure that we keep up with not only your needs, but we keep up with your wants. And so it's substantial. And in categories, when we look at general government, you can see right here, parks, transportation, and public safety, and of course the library. There's the impact of the project out in East County that's been long overdue is where you see that major. But look what's going on. Anybody here Just raise your hand. In fact, stand up if you really want visibility. If you don't think we need to make a significant investment in transportation, roads, and the like, stand up. Right? Okay. Right? So we're weighting it the right way, right? Right? I say that, but I have to admit I'm kind of spoiled. I don't know why it is and how it works, but because I represented the District 4 in the school board, even though I own property on the Manatee River where I couldn't live on the school board, I live in Whitfield Estates. I cannot, and it may be the time of day, I cannot finish a cup of coffee on my way to the office coming from Whitfield near the airport to downtown. But I can tell you, I hate going any other direction. All right? So when you look at how we're going to do this, so first of all, any wild guess, it depends on if you watch the board meetings, how much do you think we are getting, what is it now, 130 million between utilities and the other 80 and 50 million? For our lines of credit for 2 years. What do you think that cost of money is? And it's based on how strong our economy and how well we're managing funds. Any hands of anybody, give me a wild ass guess of what you think the interest rate we're paying on $130 million. 2%? 3%? 0.47%. All right? Now, those of you that are in business for yourself, how much money do you think you could make if somebody gave you $130 million for basically 2 years at about 0.47% interest? Okay, that's why we did it. Because with everything moving as fast as it is, we are competing with everybody for talent, supplies, and materials. So the smartest way to do that, even though we're going to be bonding for long-term funding of some of these projects, was to do what we're doing. So I'm not the kind of person that really likes to borrow money. This is a very conservative county commission, but basically 0.47% for 130, that's like free money, right? Okay, so that's how we're doing it. So we've got a future debt plan. We're watching the markets. Jan and the consultants are watching the markets. The advantage to getting these projects into design and engineering before the long-term funding is there is we have a better idea what the cost is going to be, because costs are changing like crazy. And so, we have, as I mentioned, we accessed all of the reserves beyond 20%. Keep in mind that 20% is a statutory cap. Municipalities cannot hold, by law, more than 20% in reserves. Operating budget, property taxes. How many do you? Here's the thing I got. We've been conservative. Jan and her team have been conservative. The tax collector's been conservative, saying that we're going to expect a 7% increase in the property values for taxation purposes. How many of you honestly believe? How many realtors do we have in the room? Okay, how many bankers that fund real estate? All right. Do you honestly believe with the price increase of houses that we're only going to see a 7% increase in the property tax base? I don't think so. But we're budgeting for only that. So, but I think we're going to see that it's going to be far greater than that. With regards to the environmental lands tax, as you know, poor Charlie there. I lost sleep last night because he was concerned about his reserves and his diving well and other projects. We kind of swept his reserves to fund the value that would have come from implementing that environmental lands tax this year. That's the way the county commission, and I believe it was the right thing to do, because if we've got money sitting there, why should you as taxpayers give us more money that we can't yet spend? So that's how we did it. Okay, we adopted the millage, as you know, with a net cut over last year, but it was really a 0.2 mil cut from the budget presentation in July. So it was a net cut. Now here's a big one, and there's an ask in here from Manatee County government. In November alone, we had 67 hire packets that went out and were signed. This week alone, we brought in 20 new employees. And so we're going to have another hiring fair. I think it's scheduled in February. But we still have just shy of 300 openings. So your children, your neighbors, your grandchildren, anybody who's getting out of high school, anybody who's getting out of college, we've got a job for you with great leadership. I think I'm a pretty good mentor. We have a great board here. So just tell all your friends that we've got jobs and we're competitive. We're competitive. I'm sorry I have to compete with you for the talent you need. I'm sorry, anybody out there from the school board, we're going after your bus drivers and your construction people and your maintenance people. I love competition. It drives the economy. Okay, next slide. Yep, oh, perfect, you're there. All right, so where we are we in the community? Let's, at any rate, okay. Unemployment, 4.6%. Our job growth is at 13.7%. Population growth, 3.8. I think it's probably a little bit higher than that. We got shafted on the census. Anybody believe that the census numbers were right? 399,000 people? Yeah, I don't think so. Next slide. Okay, the COVID impacts. You guys, we're putting this behind us, but give you an idea of kind of where your government was in stepping up and rising to the occasion. The Safety First Small Business Grants, we processed almost 3,400 applications. We served over 1,300 businesses in Manatee County, and we dispersed over $20 million in those rounds. And that is your government at work for you to shore up the economy and your businesses to get through it so that we could reopen really before many people in the state and many communities in the country. What do we learn from all this? The greatest needs from businesses were the grant opportunities, helping with finances, that bridging and connection to local resources. Having those resources in place with the collaboration between the chamber, the education system, with the EDC, the social services, made a huge difference because communities that did not have that in place could not expeditiously deploy that money. Okay, impacts, this is where we need your help, okay? Even though we met the threshold on getting out emergency rental assistance for rent assistance and things like that, the feds have allowed us to modify it so we can even provide funds to pay off someone's prior landlord so they're eligible to get into a new place. The problem we're having is really getting the word out. And so we're there, we are working on it. The board approved a modification to the guidelines in accordance with the Treasury so that we can get those dollars out and help people in need. So, why? We can keep the labor force here. If we can help them get back into housing, we can also help get them back to work and drive the economy. We learned there were barriers to employment because of problems with housing and things like that, and housing stability really came to the forefront during COVID. The partnerships we have, this is going to be sent out to you so you can take a look at that, but one of the greatest things about our community is all these partnerships. We've got so many organizations that are focused on the same problems, and we've got great collaboration throughout the county. Next slide. Economic development incentives. The board approved incentives for 8 projects, and believe me, we got more coming. Historically, that was creating like 329 new jobs. We've got a plethora of funds going into economic development projects, and you're looking at about almost $76 million that goes into what we're doing to help grow the economy. Okay, redevelopment, I will tell you probably the best example of how impressive Manatee County is and the partnerships between the Chamber, the EDC, USF, State College of Florida, and Manatee County government is pulling off this Amazon facility, this last mile facility. And I will tell you what's coming behind that, not just in that area, but in other areas of the county, it's going to astound you with both the number of jobs and the private capital investment that is coming from the success of this project. And I will tell you, a group of us have a meeting tomorrow, and I will tell you it was the exceptional job that was done around that one highlighted project that has ignited the interest in Manatee County. With that is the challenge. Dr. Holbrook and others have to help us align programs to prepare the workforce. The school district with MTC has to help us align programs to ensure we have the workforce. Next slide. The light industrial area is leading the economic recovery in Manatee County. And our Rio staff, they eat, drink, and sleep this sector. And it really is amazing. It's when you think about these numbers, and it's funny, I'm looking at it because I know what else is coming. And so when you talk about 700,000 square feet delivered over the past 3 years, I will tell you in the next couple of years we're looking at probably close to 4 million square feet. Okay, in just the next probably year. I mean, I think that we've got things that are close to being closed and signed. And so when you look at the past, and you just take 700,000 square feet, and let's look at over the next 12 months, 4 million square feet. That gives you an idea of the growth in the private sector economy, and that's just touching on the big projects. Next slide, thanks. All right, redistricting. I want everybody to give the county commission a hand in how they handled redistricting yesterday and the whole time. I don't care what any critic says. It was an engaging process. It was a transparent process. It was maybe an expensive process. I haven't gotten the final bill from the consultant yet, but really, I believe that process that was followed is a model of how individuals can come together, and I will tell you, you know them, they're individuals, but they came together. And you know what's amazing about it? After the debate yesterday, with no sunshine violations, I was a referee, five of us, went to lunch together. And it was a pleasure sitting down and sharing a meal after that meeting and that accomplishment. And that says a lot for the elected people, the elected leaders that you put in office, because the most painful process you can go through in the legislature, in local municipalities and jurisdictions is redistricting. Because there are just things you cannot pull out of that conversation and ignore it. But the map's on the website. You can take a look at what it's going to look like. But I was pretty proud of the county commission yesterday. I did threaten them with a meeting on the 15th that would run from 1 o'clock in the afternoon till midnight if we didn't get this in place. But we got there, and I really appreciate it, guys and gals. All right, so Plan B, the statistics, you're going to get it. I want to leave time for questions. Now, projects that are exciting me, and they should excite you. I heard stuff along the way about a water taxi. Folks, let me tell you something. The research was done, and if you take a look at take a look at some of the statistics over the holiday period. Let's see. Did you get the dates? Let's move to the next slide. There, next slide. Okay, all this was data-driven. You know me, look, I'm a data guy. But prior to school start, August 7th through August 8th, and over Labor Day weekend, September 4th to the 6th, we conducted research with people on the beach, talking to people who were at the beach. All right, so just the highlights. very likely to use a water taxi from a Bradenton parking location out to the beach. Residents, 27.5% were very likely to take a water taxi. Day trippers, 41% said that they were very likely to take a water taxi from Bradenton to the beach. Overnight on the islands, 40% said that they would take a water taxi. Overnight on the mainland, would take a water taxi to the beach during the day, 46%. So let me tell you, folks, we're going to have a water taxi, all right? We're going to have a water taxi. The ITN is going to go out hopefully before the end of the year, and the goal is to have the initial route operating for spring break, so that's March. All right, so you can check the slides. You know, we're looking at a number of options. Elliot's team has done a great job going to other communities. I brought up that, you know, my experience with Broward County and the water taxi on the Intracoastal. I think we've got a far better opportunity. And in the future, it will connect the new Convention Center Hotel and the Convention Center. Next slide. Did we bypass the routes? There you go. And then the next route. So we're looking at both, you know, a route that gets people to the island, and also a route that goes down the island to complement our shuttle service. We're also going to be reaching out to employers to see if it's feasible to move beach employees daily by water taxi from probably the downtown parking garage to the beach. So we don't have our workforce, you know, driving out there unnecessarily. And really, when you look at the time, they were talking about maybe 40 minutes to get from downtown Bradenton to the beach. And if you think about traffic and all that, that's not a bad trip. And what a great way to unwind from a day of work by getting in a boat and getting driven to your car. Next slide. G2 Bray Park, pickleball courts. Not just in the plan. If you go out there, you see the steel going up. It's going to be a pretty cool facility. Next. All right, questions. How am I doing on time? Okay. Ask me anything. They left. The county commissioners are already there. Oh, no, a couple of you are there for questions.
Dr. Hopes, I've been paying attention to Manatee County finances for about 4 years now, and I'm really glad to hear that you want to spend down the reserves. The last reserve figure that was issued by the clerk's office from July of this past year was $630 million, roughly. Florida statute allows 30% of your budget for reserves, so 30% times 900 million is about 270 million.
Well, actually, 20%. 20%.
Well, I'm just telling you what Florida statute is. It's 30%.
20% cap, I think. But okay, but you're
Yeah,
right.
it's 30%. So it's 270 million. You've got 630 million in reserves, so you've got more than a 2-to-1 cushion above what's allowed by Florida statute. And I'm really glad to hear you want to spend some of those reserves. Either that or send it back to the people that paid the property tax. So my question is, when I was looking at the budget document, I think it's page 65, it talked about the source of funds for the 2022 CIP. There's about $100 million that you want to borrow to fund the CIP, and then there's another roughly 175 million coming from various taxing sources. But I don't see anything in there about using reserves in the 2022 CIP. So could you clarify, you know, the disparity that I'm perceiving from what you're saying versus what that document, which is the official county budget document? Thank you.
We have the exceptional deputy county administrator and CFO, Jan Brewer.
So there's two things I want everybody to make sure you know. On our website, under financial management, there's great videos that explain the difference between a budget and a CAFR. A budget is a plan. A CAFR is by all the accounting rules and where they're at. The number that was just quoted by Mr. Meehan is in the CAFR. It also includes what we have budgeted for projects. Those are already legally committed funds that contracts have gone out on, and if we gave it away, we'd be in a lot of trouble. As far as spending down reserves, how it works, the CIP plan is a 5-year plan. The first year of it goes into the operating budget. So when we planned it, we transfer between the funds. It's already set into place. When the commissioners see it the last time, it's adopted, and all the reserves are spent down. So if you go online and look under financial management, you'll see the budget that was passed. You'll see a complete section on reserves, tells you how much is left. And right now we're waiting for, I think Angel left, the CAFR to be completed. They're in their final stages. Right. And then once we know if we were right on our projections or not, I'll have to come back in front of the commissioners and we explain everything there. But I do recommend you go on the website. It explains the difference between the two and all the peculiarities that go with it.
Yeah, basically one is your actual financials at year end, and the other is the budget, our intent of spending. So, any other questions? Come on, you gotta have other questions. You've already paid for me. Pardon me?
Affordable housing, knowing what it sounds like.
Yes, you were going to see some dramatic. I will tell you one project that kind of got stalled before COVID, which is a partnership with Habitat for Humanity. That's moving forward now. It's a little bit more expensive than I would have liked it to have been, but it's moving forward. Here's the other thing that we've done is we have gone through all of the county-owned properties. And property management has evaluated every parcel for the best value, best use of that property with an eye on workforce housing. And so we've identified a number of parcels. And the other thing that we're doing is we're moving forward with rezoning the properties while we own them for the best purpose before we surplus them and put them out on the market to be used in that way. When I first came, I began getting sheets of paper to surplus property. And when I asked the question, what is it going to be used for? We don't know. I said, wow, wouldn't it be great if we identified the best use of the property, rezoned it, and then put it out the market for kind of its intended purpose, right? And so that's what we're doing. And so you will see anybody who wants to work on workforce housing. I think the first one we're going to hit the street is I think about a 16-acre parcel north of the river where we also own land next to it. I'm not sure when it goes on the agenda for the county to accept the deed to that property, but I think that's going to be an ideal one where we can rezone for whatever the density needs to be and put that into play. It's not lost on me because any of you that are now that I can live anywhere in the county, and unfortunately I sold the property on the river 3 weeks before they hired me, which meant I could live wherever I wanted to. You know, I'm like everybody else. I'm looking for workforce housing myself. And there's not a lot out there, so anything I can do to help build it, I'm going to. I mean, that might be a selfish part, but at any rate. But you're going to see a lot of movement with Rio and neighborhood, and it may be neighborhood and community services, but we're looking at realignment so that we can really focus on the workforce housing needs. Because without affordable housing for a workforce, we're not going to have a workforce. Or we're not going to have as much of a workforce as we need. How's my time? Any other questions? Or yes? The latest on Piney Point, it's moving, okay, as you probably read in the newspaper. I think we have a few more days. They've issued the intent for the permit for the deep well. The receiver is on board. They've hired full-time staff up there. Remember, there was one poor guy running around there. Now you've got a team of engineers. I believe we're within a few weeks of the receiver getting the closure plan from the engineering firm. We as Manatee County government are doing our part. We're looking at, in addition, if you go up to Buckeye Road, you'll see that everything is set. Everything's done except actually putting the hole in the ground. And so the second that 14 days is up, but even if someone challenges it, DEP is prepared to move that challenge. I will tell you, I've heard from everybody from snake oil salesmen to other technologies, and the only way that we can ensure that it's done in an environment as environmentally sound as a process is to use deep injection wells. We're looking at both our existing Buffalo Creek well to put the infrastructure there, and the receiver is looking at possibly running a line. So once we pre-treat it, remember, the way the county commission approved this is that the county owns the property, the county owns the permit, the county owns the well, the county owns the pre-processing process, and the county operates it so that they know, under the direction of the Board of County Commissioners and through my office, what the quality of the effluent is that gets injected. Here's the problem. We may not make it through another rainy season if we don't begin dewatering those stacks. Just in the southern pond that had the breach, 1 inch of rain is 3.7 million gallons in that pond. So if you follow the daily report from DEP, you can see since the discharge of the 215 million gallons, we've picked up another 60 or 70 million gallons just through rain. And so we're working hard, kind of fighting with DEP about who really should be paying. You know, they were paying part, they want us to pay part. But the plans as I've seen them to date, we're probably looking at like a 24, maybe on the outside a 36-month time period to get it capped, lined, relined, dewatered, relined, capped, topsoil, and sod. Is kind of where we are.
44th Street expansion, what's the latest on, do you think?
Oh, we're trying to accelerate that because if you did not hear about the hole that was pounded in the 36-inch water main 8 feet below the Braden River, which basically took out our redundancy for water for over half of Manatee County. I can't tell you how many things that were unexpected happened since April Fool's Day, but that was one of them. And so the plan all along was to replace that 50-year pipe, which still had 50 years of life in it, with a new water line that goes across the 44th Avenue, the new 44th Avenue bridge. So we've been working with the contractors to see if they can expedite it. Now, granted, they had to come off of the 44th Avenue project to work on putting shutoff valves to isolate that water main breach. If you're going to do anything, dig anything, put a hole in anything, please don't wait to 2 days after you've panged a hole in a water main to request utility locating services. Do it before, okay? So the bridge was at 18 months. We're trying to see if we can get that done in 12 months, because here's the problem. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. Now, if anything happens to the water main on SR 70, from the water plant all the way here, and it has to be shut down, we have no water. The airport's without water. Blake's without water. The islands are without water. So about 51% or so of Manatee County will not have water until that line gets repaired. Okay? I'm being honest with you. And the utilities department seemed to be okay with taking that risk for 18 months while that bridge gets built. We had everybody in the room, and I'm not real happy about taking that risk, and I'm not going to take that risk. Because guess what happened? Any of you noticed that the road, part of the road was closed on SR 70 before Thanksgiving? You want to know why? You won't believe it. My utilities director said he was going to protect that water main on SR 70. Well, somebody, a red light camera company, did horizontal boring on Highway 70 and bored a hole in the wastewater main that runs down the middle of Highway 70, which is about 15 feet from that water main. So we opted to only close down the center lane because some of us got yelled at because it was blocked off, but nobody was working on it. That's because there was about a 10-inch hole underneath it, and the road was sinking, and we thought it would be bad on Thanksgiving weekend if a car fell into it. And so after Thanksgiving, wisely, we closed the road, detoured traffic, and we repaired it. That's my 44th Avenue story. It's going to get done before planned, no matter what kind of money we have to put into it.
That sounds like a great case against red light cameras.
That's coming up on the agenda.
Thank you so much. I know we went a few minutes over, but it's so important to have time for you all to have questions and interact when we host our headliners. So many of you I will see tomorrow morning for our Pancakes and Politics event. How many people tomorrow morning? So let me know what you're doing for dinner tonight, because that way it will be breakfast, lunch, and dinner in a row. But we will be welcoming our state delegation, so the state senators and representatives who represent Manatee and Sarasota counties will be joining us tomorrow morning for a somewhat similar discussion with the business community about priorities as they get ready to open up session in just a few weeks in Tallahassee. So look forward to seeing you all tomorrow morning if you'll be joining us for that. One more thank you, please, to our headliner sponsors, the Mosaic Company and the Realtors Association of Sarasota and Manatee. A couple of other upcoming events quickly for your calendar. Our January 12th Headliners event, so kicking off 2022. We will be welcoming the 3 CEOs from our hospitals, from Blake, Manatee Memorial, as well as Lakewood Ranch Medical Center, for somewhat of a state of the healthcare system discussion. So we hope you'll join us at the Grove in Lakewood Ranch on January 12th to hear from our 3 hospital CEOs. We have Holiday Coffee Club coming in up next week, so our last major event of this calendar year will be next week. I think we have about 200 people that will be joining us for great holiday cheer. If you haven't RSVP'd, please do that now, because I have a feeling it will be sold out before Friday. Kim is mouthing to me in the back. So would love to celebrate the holiday season with you at that event next week at the Manatee Performing Arts Center. And then another important date for your calendar is our 59th annual dinner and the 5th annual Robert P. Bartz Award. We will have that wonderful evening celebration of leadership of the business community on Thursday, January 27th at the Bradenton Area Convention Center. So with that, okay, Dr. Hopes.
I just thought of it, and then we'll let you go. So, according to my employment agreement, by December 1st, the county commission was decide mutually with me whether I was going to be extended. If you like the job I'm doing, please call your county commissioner. Thank you.
And with that, have a great afternoon.